online from Portland. She's attending TESOL International Convention right now. So, as I said before, Bob will share with us some of the opportunities for collaboration with Indonesian universities. So, without further ado, go ahead.
Okay, great. And before I start, I want to make sure everybody knows Adrian. This is Adrian Rogers. He runs the office, the Usintec office. That's U.S. Indonesia Teacher Education Consortium. He's a faculty member from OSU Newark, and we're really fortunate to have him. He steps in and is filling the role and trying to fill the shoes of Sue Dekow, who shepherded that office for many years. And this is Pak Nugi. Nugi is Nugi and Eni. They help. They work in the office with Adrian, and this has been an incredible learning experience for me. Not just the trip itself, but to learn more about the Indonesian scholars that we have in our college. I've seen them for the last few years. I've never worked with them, but this fall was the first time I had the opportunity to work with a scholar. And Adrian talked to me in the fall about taking a trip to Indonesia, and we were going to look at the intensive English programs there. I think Adrian, I'd like him to talk just for a couple minutes and tell us a little bit more about what his ideas were. But once we got there, what happened was we started talking to them about the opportunity to offer some language programs, language and culture programs at their schools in coordination with their faculty.
Yeah. So Usintec is a consortium, a group of 13 Indonesian partner institutions, 12 of which are universities, and then 3 Midwest universities, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio State. And so a big challenge in terms of offering access to American education for Indonesia is English language proficiency, because to get into a degree program here, you have to have a minimum of a 79 on the IBT or an IELTS score of 7.0. And indeed, some programs could require higher scores. So SLED, because they have a very, very large number of applicants, routinely, they don't really have a cut score, but they routinely accept students whose IBT scores would be 100 or higher. So this is very difficult for the Indonesian students to obtain. And I remember last year I was at a university in Makassar, which is on the island of Sulawesi, and they said that their English language majors in a master's degree might get a 79 at the end of their master's degree. So our task was to try and figure out how we could try to develop English language proficiency so that people who are interested in coming to American universities or Australian universities, it doesn't always have to be Ohio State, but how we could make that accessible for them, say at the end of their bachelor's degree. And especially because we're interested in working with teachers, not always people who have just graduated from university, but who might be school teachers. Again, trying to make a path for them into a graduate program at the master's level and helping them obtain the required scores was something that we had in mind. So there are all manner of English language preparation in Indonesia as you travel around. So Fulbright, for example, offers intensive camps for people that they have identified as prospects. And then they give them the opportunity to attend these camps or intensive sessions, and then they give them multiple opportunities to take the IBT test. Some students will self-fund, and they'll go to different kinds of private schools, sometimes on weekends, sometimes for a semester, and so on, to take English language training. And then for faculty members who are trying to improve their English language training, there's a regional center in Singapore that offers programming. But the Federal Ministry of Higher Education in Indonesia has always been very clear that they refuse to fund any kind of English language training for people who are university students. They see that as the role of the university. We also, like Ohio State, sort of has some competitors in terms of English language training. So we have a partner university in Surabaya called UNESA, and they have a dual degree program in science education with Curtin University, and Curtin University flies a faculty staff member to Surabaya to do intensive English language training, and then to offer an entrance test so that they can identify participants to enter into a dual degree. And recently, the Auckland University in Auckland, New Zealand, signed an agreement with the Federal Ministry of Higher Education to offer English language training for 100 PhD students at the domestic rate in Auckland until they could test out the program and then enter into a PhD program. So this has been a problem for our partnership for a long time now, thinking about English language bridging programs. And you know, we're fortunate to begin to have more and more capacity because with the dual master's degree that we have in English, we now have many alumni, mostly in Semarang in central Java, back in Indonesia. And they've been informally doing some mentoring to help students kind of reach the test score. But I think, you know, it hasn't been a systematic approach. So when I learned of Bob's approach that he had been using in Wuhan, which is to do sort of an intensive camp-like experience, I was thinking about how that might apply to the Indonesia situation. And the idea was that they would visit as many universities as would be willing to host them, learn about what that university is doing now, and then think about how either the Wuhan model or a variant might be applied to that local situation. So in this past, well, last month, this spring, both Jackie and Bob went for 2 weeks, and they visited 6 institutions.
Great. So this will be a quick tour through that experience. And Jackie is in Portland. She's standing by with a presentation to give you. The presentation itself was created on a platform called Haiku Deck, which is pretty cool. So we want to kind of illustrate that to you. And then we're also testing out a platform called Carmen Connect, which is a version of Adobe Connect, which is like a very amped up version of Skype. So I'm going to log into that first, and we'll see Jackie, and give you guys a chance to maybe sort of wave and say hello. And then we'll probably keep her video, we'll cut our video. She's in the basement of the conference center on Wi-Fi. So we're really not sure exactly how much bandwidth we have. So first we'll log into Carmen Connect. So she's talking to someone now. And then she has to sort of give us some privileges.
Watching you and talking at the same time.
I thought she saw you.
So ultimately, yeah, I mean, ultimately, our videos will be up there, and then we're going to see her desktop. So she'll have the Haiku Deck presentation on her desktop, and she'll share her desktop with us.
I could also share that people who don't know Jackie, so the secretary of, here we go.
You have my audio?
Yeah.
I need to enable yours.
And so this is the platform we're going to use to teach a lot of the
Sorry about
classes
that.
for
I had a
Honda.
visitor.
We're going to have learners all
Okay.
over the North
And
American
enable
continent.
your microphone and your video. Okay, so I should be able to see you now if you turn your video on.
Okay, great. So there's everybody. And it's real. I think the video for her.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jackie.
Okay. You're on. You
I
wanna?
see everybody waving.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay. Can
Okay.
you hear me all right?
Yeah. I'm gonna
All right.
kill.
So I'm gonna switch our configuration so that I can share my screen.
Okay.
1 second. Okay. Good to go. All right. So I'm just gonna talk. You'll have to interrupt me with audio because I won't be able to hear chat. So if you have any questions, tell Bob to tell me so that I can hear it. It doesn't work awfully well without a microphone. Okay, let me share my screen. I do apologize that we appear to be between sessions, so there are a lot of people running around the basement right now. That's pretty much it. All right, can I get some audio confirmation that you can see my haiku deck?
Yeah. All right. Bring it on.
Excellent. I'm gonna say allow for that. Okay. Oh wait, I'm sorry. You wanted to start with a map. Let me give you a better map. Hold on, I pulled one up. So it's the same map but without words in front of it. All right. So we did a whirlwind trip in 2 weeks. We saw 6 universities.
Hold on. We didn't
that
get the map.
included for Bob 17 flights, for me 16. Okay. So we landed in Jakarta, and the next day we flew out to Gorontalo.
Hold on. We're not getting the map.
What? Oh, I know. Hold on, I know why. As I was sharing the wrong screen with you.
The first slide of the haiku deck.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah. Perfect.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me start again. Sorry. All right, we landed in Jakarta, and then we flew out to Gorontalo, up here in Sulawesi. So this was our first university stop, Universitas Negeri Gorontalo. So pretty rural, pretty far east, and they were super happy to see us. And then we flew back to Jakarta, and then out to Semarang, which is in east or central? I'm not sure. Over here somewhere. From Semarang, we went back to Jakarta, and then up to Padang, which is where Yanti's from, up here on the west coast of Sumatra. From Padang, back to Jakarta, and then from there, Bob and I split up. Bob went to Surabaya, which is where Pak Nugi's from, on the east side of Java, and I went to Jogja, which is in central. And then we went back to Jakarta. Did I mention we went to Jakarta a lot? But at some point, we actually went to a university there as well, and I think I skipped that in my explanation. But those were the 6 sites. All right. So I'm going to switch back to the haiku deck here. And we'll talk more in depth about what we did. Okay. Can you see the haiku deck, Bob?
Yeah. Very clear.
Okay, good. Good deal. All right, so first up, Universitas Negeri Gorontalo. Fairly good sized university, about 18,000 students. And we got to go see some of their new buildings. So they're doing some exciting stuff on campus there. I'm trying to remember, this was a while ago, so I'm trying to remember some of the fun stuff. But the first thing we did was to sit in on a meeting with all of their English instructors and instructors from their language center. And they were very eager to hear what we were doing. There was a little student demonstration going on outside, so they were embarrassed about that. But we were able to work through that. The rector was
Kids
able
were
to
setting stuff on fire
talk to
while we were having our meeting.
and then we got to talk to him later. And the impressive thing about him was that he was very committed to supporting the faculty and getting them, all of the faculty, speaking English and teaching in English. So he was very supportive of this program, which you can see on the screen now. They surprised us a bit, the first of many surprises, by saying that they wanted to be the students of the program. They also wanted to have a program for their undergrads, but they were more leaning towards getting some professional development for themselves and for co-publishing their own curriculum materials. You can see that on the screen. I think that they're working towards becoming an international university, so they needed those material development and publications to make that happen. So at the end of our talk with the rector and all of the lectures, they sort of came to this three-piece conclusion where they wanted to have a class for lecturers from all departments to teach them English, and then they wanted an English class for the undergrads, but they wanted to team teach that so that they could get some professional development throughout the process. And then they had an idea where they wanted to bring in their community children to do an English class for them, which I think that they're already doing, so it would just be a continuation of that program. Any questions about Gorontalo?
Let me just say for a second, Jackie, this place really kind of surprised us. You know, we've been flying, I think, for 48 straight hours, and we walked into a meeting, and about 30 of their teachers were sitting there waiting for us. They had summoned the troops, and the head of their international office was there. And we started talking a little bit about the program that I run in China that's for students that has served thousands of Chinese college students, which we really thought we were going there to talk about. And after about 10 minutes, one of the lecturers who actually had done a PhD at OU, so we kind of kept running into people who had been either to Ohio State or to Ohio University. This one lecturer, kind of sheepishly, where she raised her hand and she said, this sounds really good, we're thankful you're here. But would it be possible for you to teach this with and for us? You know, it's like they wanted to be the audience. They were sitting there as 30 teachers listening to us talk about an American language and culture program, and they were very eager and enthusiastic to participate in it, which makes a lot of sense because they see thousands of students. So the one thing about the China program is we teach a lot of students, but we don't have very much interaction with the lecturers. So we're kind of like, it's a little bit of a Band-Aid solution, but this would really be an incredible opportunity to work with these lecturers. Oh my gosh. Okay, all right, Jackie.
Hey, so I can't hear you when you're talking to them at all, so just let me know when you're done talking so I can continue on.
How am I supposed to let her know that? Okay, now, start talking. Now.
Now? Should I continue?
Now, yeah, now.
Okay, sorry. It got really loud in here. All right, next up, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Much bigger. This is a really impressive campus. They decided that they wanted to be the greenest campus in all of Indonesia, and I think they've accomplished that goal hands down. What they did was they told the students that they couldn't drive cars or motorbikes on campus, but then they provided them with bicycles that they can rent for free to get around. And then they had some of their agricultural students, I don't remember, some other student groups coming in and doing landscaping and adding lots of trees and creating a lot of green spaces. So it's a really beautiful environment to be in. And the thing that stuck out about this group was they have sent a lot of scholars to America to study at different universities for various programs, and they wanted to have more American scholars come to their school to help out with their graduate student classes. So this is some of the group that we met with. Some people from the international office, the English department, and from the language center. Initially, they said they had thought that the university could subsidize the program by perhaps paying for the international flights, but it sounds like that is no longer the case. So that is sad. But their initial vision of the program would be to, again, address the undergraduates, especially for speaking, which is always a big issue in Indonesia, is that, or any EFL context, is trying to give the learners an opportunity to use the English that they're doing. So they were excited about that prospect. A lot of the places that we visited wanted test prep, TOEFL and IELTS, and it sounded like there were some other alternatives, like British Council offers test prep, and it costs more than what our program would be, so they were hoping that we could help them out with that. And then finally, the postgrads wanted to do some academic writing and getting ready to publish, because that's one requirement of getting your S2 or STIA, the master's or PhD, is you have to publish something. Okay. Any questions about Semarang, or Bob, you want to add in?
No, go ahead.
How many
Okay.
graduates from UNES
All right,
are
moving
here?
on to Jakarta.
I was just wondering, UNES graduates, put up your hand. 1, 2, how many more? Not yet. And a faculty member from there. Okay, great.
Okay, should I move on?
Yep.
Okay. Moving on?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. All right. Then we went to Jakarta, which is where I lived for 3 years, so it was exciting to be back. And we went to the Universitas Negeri Jakarta, which is just in the same neighborhood as where I was teaching, so near and dear to my heart. But a huge university. Adrian will tell you that it's huge and sort of messy, but they get stuff done, and the campus looked really nice. They're starting to build a lot of new buildings, including the building that we will potentially have our program in. I think you'll see on the next slide. But they also mentioned that they wanted more of that two-way flow to get some more American scholars coming their way. So that's the building that should be finished by now. It was nearly finished when we were there, the new language center. They already have a program for their lectures to get everybody comfortable with English so that they can teach in English and become that international school that they want to be. And they were hoping that we could just sort of pop into that format that they already have. So I think this vision has changed a little bit, and Adrian can speak to that maybe. But they were thinking 1 week for the lectures and then 2 weeks for the undergraduate. I don't know, has that changed, Adrian? Or is that about what they were still looking for?
What are they saying now, Nagi?
They're still waiting for our reply.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, they said
Let
about
me know when I should move on.
yeah, just open.
How am I supposed to let her know that?
I think audio.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Jackie.
All right. All right. Then we traveled north up to Padang. We were right on the coast. We could see the beautiful Sumatran coastline from our hotels. It was lovely. Big school, about 38,000 students. They had a lot of, they were very eager to have us there, and the prospect of us being there. And I think they were one of the schools who has, or we're hoping to hear follow up from. They also want to become an international school. I think they're expecting to get some money to renovate their campus. They told us there that they have plans to renovate 7 of their buildings. When we were there, we went to the language center and we saw some library. They need some updating, and we're hopeful that that's going to happen soon for them. Met with the rector, the guy that you see in the middle there between Bob and I. Great guy. He mentioned that UMP used to be an excellent center for English, and that for one reason or another that it's been on a slow decline. so that they're really eager to sort of push that image back up for their university. So that was one reason they were happy for us to be there. And they do have an international conference going on potentially at the same time that we would be there. So they thought it would be great synergy for us to help out with that. They had an interesting request for their technical and engineering faculty. They wanted a special class specifically for them. And then again, you see the class request for the lectures and the test prep for undergrads at this point. Okay. Anything to add for Padang
What's the international conference?
on your end?
That's Kiki. Kiki, his father is kind of a high-ranking professor there who works a lot with Jackie Goodway, who's in our college. So Jackie Goodway goes there quite frequently.
Cereal, okay.
And that is a very typical Padang style seafood meal. And I mean, we were getting sort of like some ocean spray like on us. The beach and the rocks were that close to us. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's what it was. Okay, all right, Jackie. Next, I was telling him about Kiki. He was a nice guy.
Okay, yeah. Good guy.
Tennis player.
Great driver. So next we went to Surabaya, or actually,
I went to
Bob went to
Surabaya.
Surabaya. I did not go there, so Bob, you get to talk.
Okay. So this is Ivan's hometown. Ivan. Yeah. Okay. And Ivan went there after I went there. So this was an incredibly impressive place. I walked. You know, you never know when you get picked up at the hotel. You never really know where you're going to go or who you're going to meet with. So you get picked up and you show up. They walk you through campus. You walk into a room. And there's a few English teachers there. Maybe the head of the language center was there. And the next thing you know, the rector, the president, walks in. And he proceeded to sit there and talk with us for about an hour about my ideas, the language center director's ideas, his own ideas. He's the editor of a book that has about 25 chapters written by his faculty members about innovations in education. He gave me a couple copies of. It's a very inspiring book. And this is where, I mean, from the very first site we visited in Gorontalo, I was impressed with their approach and what they were trying to accomplish and how serious they were, what real professionals they were. And kept getting more and more impressed. But this place and the fact that the president, and I have met university presidents and in Turkey and in China and in Indonesia. And usually you walk into their office and you shake their hand, they talk to you for 5 or 10 minutes, and you know the meeting is over when their secretary comes with a bag of gifts. Like the secretary sneaks in, they shake your hand again, they give you the bag, they take your picture, and you walk out. But I've never been in a position where the university president sat and talked to us for an hour and had a lot of his own very good ideas. So then, as I got even more of a tour and I saw their language center and I learned, you know, they make all their own assessments. They didn't feel like the assessments that they were given by the government were that suitable for them. So they made their own. And that blew me away. You know, that's a kind of innovative thing that I'd love to see us doing, you know, kind of like we are trying to do with the spoken English program. And so I was on my own here, but I did try to, you know, to tell Jackie how impressive this place was. They were all incredibly impressive for different reasons. But Surabaya was a place that really, I hope, and especially now that since Ivan has followed up my visit a week or two later, he was there. So I'm quite sure we're going to send 3 or 4 teachers there in June, June 2nd to June 20th. And you know, typical of all this is they'll be doing quite different things. Some people might be working with undergraduates, some people might be working with lecturers, some people might be working with community members or professors on publication. So I apologize for this. Hopefully this will come back. Okay, Jackie. Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, hold on a second. Okay. We don't have your video quite yet, but can you get your audio?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can
all
you
right.
hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
Do you have the haiku deck?
We'll have it shortly.
Okay, do you want me to wait?
No, I don't want you to wait. There it is. Okay. Jokcha.
Okay. Alright, so what? Yeah, while Bob was in Surabaya, I went to Jogja, which happens to be my favorite city in Indonesia. Close second to, or Jakarta being a close second. Also a very large campus. I only got to see a small piece of it because there was a downpour the whole time I was there. But they have also a brand new language center that provides service for about 3,500 of their undergraduate and graduate students. So I met with this guy was the head of the language center, but several other lecturers who were working in the language center at the time. And they shared with me that their biggest problem in teaching is motivating the students to come. The students mostly come to do test prep and to prepare for the TOEFL exam, and they quickly lose creative ways to keep the students coming back to practice their English for that. Folks having been on reading, listening, and grammar, they were really interested to hear about the program and how we do more speaking activities and get the students more actively using the materials. And they also mentioned that they wanted to do some more professional development along the lectures and to do some materials development as well to create more interesting language learning materials. So that you can see in the background of this picture, that's their new language center. So they wanted to continue the program for the undergraduates and also pull in the lectures to do some English for teaching. And then they had an idea to advertise out to the local middle and high school students and try to bring them in for a summer program, which I don't think they had been currently doing, but just thought it would be a good idea. So I did not meet with the rector at the school. They were going to try to follow up with the rector after I left. But I think this was one of the schools that we didn't hear back from, unfortunately. And that's it. That was the end of our whirlwind trip around Indonesia. I will let Bob and Adrian take over to talk about the follow-up.
Okay, and can you clarify, can you hear us at all? Can you hear me when I talk directly?
I can only hear you when you talk directly into the microphone.
Okay, what about, do you have your chat window open so you can see my text?
Yeah, let me go back. I'm going to have to stop sharing the screen, but I can. 1 second. Stop sharing. Okay. All right. So I can see your chat now.
Okay, all right, well, we'll take some questions, and I'll type them to you if I have to.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about the Islamic Development Bank?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to remember. It was University of Padang and Semarang, right?
Right.
Those two universities are both getting money from the Islamic Development Bank. Is that right with those two? So we already saw the results from on the campus of University of Semarang. That's the reason they were able to create this green campus and all these wonderful buildings that were just gorgeous. And then Padang told us that those 7 buildings that they're planning on making, they're getting the funding also from the same place.
So the Islamic Development Bank is money that comes out of Saudi Arabia, and they're making quite an investment in these universities. And I should also say, you know, the United States is making quite an investment in English language training in Indonesia and in Turkey. So, you know, it's almost like there's, I wouldn't say it's a race or a competition, but there's a lot of investment happening around language and culture, and particularly, you know, Indonesia is the 4th most populous country in the world, has 248 million people, largely who are Muslim. So it's a very geopolitically strategic country for us to be investing in, which is one reason why I think It's also geopolitically important for Saudi Arabia to be investing there. But you walk around these campuses and you look at these big buildings, and I just started wondering. I asked them, I said, where's the money coming from to build these buildings? And they said the Islamic Development Bank. And then we did some searching about that.
So of the 6 universities that Bob and Jackie visited, I think we gave them an absolute deadline to respond to next Friday, right, Noogie? I think it was April 3rd or 4th or something.
Well, actually, today.
Was it today? Okay. And then 3 had responded and expressed interest over the past couple of weeks, and we're still at that number, then 3.
Yeah, Surabaya 4, and then Gorontalo 2 classes,
Right.
and then Jakarta plan to have 3, but still waiting for Bob's reply of the 7
So,
questions.
so those are the 3 who sort of finalized that I think we're very, very likely to proceed with over this summer. And then we'll continue to follow up with the other 3 for next summer. And then institutions to get Bob and Jackie to visit. We wanted to have a little bit of buy-in, because I think if you give everybody everything for free all the time, then that can be problematic. So we asked the institution to commit to hosting Bob and Jackie by buying them the domestic round-trip plane ticket from Jakarta to the institution, and by giving them hotel and food for 1 day. So some institutions were not able to commit to that, but I think we could revisit those institutions for next year, and maybe we'll see if some other partners out of the 13 might also be interested.
If they agree to the program, do they pay? Like, is there what is
So the financial model
relationship
that we
there?
proposed to them, and this is the model we've always had in China. In China, Wuhan University runs that program. They get hundreds, and 600 or 700 or 800 undergraduates to each pay about $100, and then that provides plane tickets for 20 or 30 teachers. So the model we proposed to them was get some undergraduate students to sign up for $50 or $100, and then that provides the funding for it, so that the programs can and should be self-funding. Now, if it's going to be the teachers, like the lecturers who are the students, then that presents another issue. And I don't know if they would actually go to them and say, do you want to pay for your own professional development? That's a little rough. But in any case, the big cost of these kinds of programs is flying us over there. Once you get there, it's not that expensive, although the place in Surabaya where they were proposing to put the teachers up was at least a 4-star hotel. It was beautiful. It had an infinity pool on the 7th floor. But they have since they've dialed that back a little, but it's still a 2-bedroom apartment that I haven't visited that is still palatial compared to how we live here. So the expenses are up to them, how they do that. But we did propose funding models to them because we don't want them to have to go into their own pockets for this.
So what's, to me, revolutionary about Bob's design is that typically the big cost is personnel, but the teachers are volunteers. So then it's only the cost of transportation and housing.
Some
right?
small stipend.
Yeah, and
But
small
not
stipend.
not like a U.S. salary.
Yeah.
Just enough to pay for some daily expenses.
So when you look at every other model that's operating, they're all grant contingent. And that's always problematic because grants can go away. But this is sustainable because as long as the university can market reasonably well, then an undergraduate could pay a tuition of, say, 1 million rupiah, which is about $100. And if you have 20 or 25 of them, you have enough to defray the cost of the volunteer instructor.
The real compensation for instructors going there is the experience. You know, the fact that you've had the chance to work alongside these professionals, see how they do things, and especially one of the biggest reasons I've been trying to send so many teachers to China is that in our composition classes we might have 15 out of 15 students who are Chinese. And I think, I would feel like if I hadn't been going to China for all these years, I would not feel as comfortable as I do feel walking into a classroom where I have 15 out of 15 Chinese students. So I think it is imperative on us to have a staff of people who have taught abroad in these populations with these sorts of students. So that's one of my main motivations. You know, that's how I sell it to the people upstairs. is that we need to send people, we need to send lecturers, we need to send graduate students, we need to send people who need that experience. It is professional development for them. So that's, I mean, it's like everybody wins in this scenario. That's what we tried to create.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering whether you are interested in expanding your collaboration with universities in South Sumatra, for example, in Palembang, and how do we go about establishing those collaborations?
Send us an email.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, these, so there are 12 or 13 Indonesian universities?
Yeah.
In Usintec.
Yeah.
So, these are just these happen to be the 6 who replied to us. So that's why we visited these 6.
Yeah. But I think, you know, something that Bob's explained to me is that there is a large pool of volunteers who are interested. So if there was a university that's not in the Usintec partnership that would want to host, I mean, I don't think that you would have to be in the Usintec partnership to host the program. So it's like 1-sentence email, and then we'll just start following up.
They said invite the rector to come here.
Well, you know, you can start like that, but like really, just a 1-sentence email will be fine, and we'll follow up from there. Because what that'll do is it'll just kind of get, when Bob and Jackie go back to Indonesia, they don't know this yet, because I haven't mentioned it to them. But then Palembang could be on their itinerary. See?
Yeah, because when I mentioned Usintec and Palembang, they don't. It doesn't ring a bell. So,
Yeah. I think this could exist outside the Usintec partnership. I don't think you even need to mention Usintec.
Oh, okay.
I think it just could be OSU helping Palembang. Because it really is driven by the local partner, right? I mean, OSU coordinates and supplies some resources, but it's really housed by the local partner.
Okay, Jackie needs to go. So Jackie has some sessions at 1 o'clock. So say goodbye. Bye. Everybody says bye, Jackie. All right. Thanks. Thanks for doing this. All right. Okay.
Yes.
If you have any more questions, let's just call it a day for now, and I'll take your questions at the end. Okay. Thanks for coming. All right. So that was fun.